Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm fired up today because I could do part two. I don't do a lot of part two podcasts, but this is part two from a few months ago because leadership is such buzzword, talked about, good, bad, indifferent, but we need more of it now than ever. If you just go, it's April 10th, 2025, just so you people know, and we got tariffs and new presidents and all kinds of crazy things going on, and leadership's more important than ever, which is why I dedicated this podcast exploring the idea of a servant's heart, being a servant leader to impact and make a difference in your world. If we all tried to do that, can you imagine how good the world would be? Don't need to change the world. We'll let the big guys do that. We just change our own little world. And we bring a guest on to motivate you, inspire you, and educate you. And my guest has a military background, but on top of that, he's got life experience, which you can learn from and grow and take and impact your own world. Here's your homework today. I want you to think about how you're going to create service for yourself and others today, and what impact you'll create today. Say it all the time in my shows, but I still get people going, yeah, I heard you say that and I waited or never did it. I guarantee you when you serve somebody, it's the most blessed feeling in the world. And let's thank Pantheon, our sponsor today. They have joined a community of high-income earners and entrepreneurs who are building a thought leader platform to impact and change the world and also help you grow your business or your life. So for more information on that, reach out to me. I'll get you all the information, or just look on the show notes. You'll see everything there. As I said, leadership is everywhere. We were talking before the show, me and the guest today, a lot of coaches out there, a lot of consultants, and that's great because there's a place for them. But what's so important about leadership that we need to know? With that being said, Dave, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me back, Steve. I'm excited to continue our conversation.
It's going to be great. So great. Tie leadership and the ROI, the elephant in the room for a business person.
Yeah, great question. We were talking about this, obviously, in the green room, the virtual green room, I guess it would be. Right. And so back up for a second here. So there's two thoughts on leadership. The sort of the generic thought is leading is about getting my company to do, in a business sense, getting my company to do whatever it is we set out to do. And in a real sense, that's there. My perspective on leadership, as I talked about on our last podcast, is that real leadership is about getting people to be the highest form of themselves. Having said that, in a business world, if there's no return on that investment, right? If I'm getting you to be, you work for me, you're one of my team members, I get you to be the highest form of yourself, and it doesn't pay off in some way, right? At some point, I got to go, what's the use? Because my business philosophy is there's no such thing as a business expense. There shouldn't be. Everything is an investment, including our people. So what does that look like? And, you and I spoke, we're both in a transformational leadership space, which is about transforming people, getting them to be their highest, getting them inspired, not motivated. And what's the return on that? And so the return takes a few different ways. One, if in fact I have people who are taking the bull by the horns, who are taking the initiative and are solving problems on their own, it's freeing up my time so that I can focus on the more strategic. So there's a time ROI on that. And for all of the micromanagers out there, or all the frustrated micromanagers, the people out there are thinking to themselves, I keep adding people and it's taking more and more of my time. right? It's an expense. It's a suck. When we get people to grab the reins by themselves, we're now actually getting our time back. We're clawing back that time. That's the ROI. But there's actually a financial ROI, right? Because if you think about it, the more efficient people are, the more they're able to solve problems, which means that problems get solved sooner, farther downstream, right? The closer to the source that it gets solved, the sooner it gets solved, then that actually turns into efficiency because now you're spending less money creating work, which means you could create more work in the same amount of time or more product or more service. And so, I've done some case studies on what this looks like. And in general, on average, you get 3 to 5 times more net operating profit than you get in revenue growth out of it. That's what it looks like, right? So, on average, you might get 10% growth in a year. Okay, that's nothing special. But when you get 300% growth in net operating profit and OP, that's where the rubber starts meeting the road. And that's the sort of returns I see from my clients on this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So I mean that's it. I had one client, he had 22% growth in revenue, and almost 90% growth in net operating profit on in that same time period over the same period, right? That's efficiency. That's
Yeah.
the return.
The other ROI equation here is the flip side of the client doing the work. I've been in many coaching programs, a few coaching programs where people weren't showing up. They weren't paying attention, not doing the work. If you don't do the work, you can complain about the coach all you want, but that's part of the ROI. It's got to be a yin and a yang.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when I first got into coaching, that was my biggest frustration, because, and I'm sure you're the same way. I'd meet with clients, we talk, give real life story. I had a client, he was a service plumber, service company, not new construction. And he told me, third generation, he's like, yeah, I know that we should be making 65% gross profit. Okay. He was about 50% gross profit according to his P&L. So we said, let's look into this. Why? Because it could be either he's pricing it right and people are being inefficient, right? And that's a leadership training issue, or he was pricing it wrong. It's really the only two ways you get there. In his case, he was just pricing it wrong. He wasn't priced for 65%. I said, great. This is a no-brainer. When could you have this done? 2 weeks. Now, this was costing him about $10,000 a month. He was a small company. How long would it take you to get the prices done? And he's profitable, so that $10,000 is right out of his pocket, by the way, right? How long would it take you to redo your price list so that you could put $10,000 a month in your pocket?
24 hours.
18 months later. And so, to your point, right, the frustration from a coach is like, I'm just taking your money. And I don't feel good about that. I don't know about you. I do know about you actually, but right. I don't feel good about that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to like, okay, yeah, I'm going to say the same song and dance time after time, right? This is about service, leading with servant's heart. It's about service. And if somebody doesn't want to follow me, let's go back actually full circle, a bazillion coaches out there. It means whatever I'm saying isn't really resonating. I didn't have the correct approach for them, right? This was my issue. This was not him. This was me failing him. Find another coach, somebody who will have the right tools to help you get where you need to go. Or where you
That's very cool. And the servant leadership falls into the client side as well. And that just using a customer restaurant. I tell people all the time, say their name, but be a good customer. Your food's cold. Don't scream and yell and make a tantrum. It's not leadership. That's just being a nimbus school. I can't even say that word. Being stupid. I'm just going to say, oh, that's not the word I want to say, but that's what comes to mind. It really is, because same thing with cook, because I've been in coaching programs and I love what you said, Dave. That's why I love having you on. They come to me, how are you getting so much results? And I'm not, because I'm doing the work. I'm showing up at every meeting. Yeah, you're going to miss one or two meetings, but you don't go to 90% of the meetings or keep rescheduling if it's one-on-one with you, Dave. It doesn't work. But that leads to radical accountability, and radical is a big word here. We might have talked about it before, but talk about that radical accountability.
Yeah, so most people, when they think about accountability, they think about holding somebody accountable. What did you do? How did you do it? Because it went wrong. We want to make sure it doesn't go wrong. That's the mindset. Radical accountability puts that on its head. Radical accountability is creating a culture where everyone willingly does what they need to do, when they need to do it, with accuracy. So it's not about holding people accountable. That's a tool. It's a very necessary tool when things don't go right. We'll talk about that in a minute. But true radical accountability is creating a culture where everybody desires and has the skill set and is set up so that it doesn't go wrong because they take ownership, 100% ownership. When I played with this, I started off calling it absolute accountability, right? Because it's just comprehensive. It's accountability in everything you do. And so it's really being radical about following processes, following procedures, because that's what accountability is, the ability to follow a procedure and talk about what that process was, right? So when we follow things radically to like, it's like, I'm not going to cut corners. What it allows us to do is find the holes and then increment them and improve them. And that's how you get these efficiency gains that we're talking about.
It's powerful. And that's what I was saying about a restaurant or being a customer. I still should write this book, How to Be a Good Customer, not customer service, but how to be a good customer. It gets you so much more because as a customer, you're trying to get value as well. It's interesting. Before I forget, we ran out of time. Talk about your new project, Command Expedition. You kind of give me a tease before the show, but I'm excited for you to tell us about it.
Yeah, of course. First of all, leadership hasn't changed in the 300,000 years that Homo sapiens have walked this earth. Right? We got together, we're pack animals, we got together, and then we chose our leaders. And we did this for one and only one reason, and that reason hasn't changed at all, ever. Any ideas what that might be?
None.
Survival. We chose our leaders who gave us the best opportunity to survive. Right? So, back in the day, it was the better hunters, or at least the ones who could organize the hunt the best. They may not have been the best hunter, but they were the best at organizing the hunt. They were the best at taking the tribe and setting them up for success, finding the right places to live, following the food sources, all the things necessary for survival. As civilization came about, right, then it was those, and we started vying for resources, because what happened is, instead of following the food sources, we now created our own. With irrigation came civilization. And then we got to resource hoarding, because we weren't moving. Sometimes the resources ran out where we were, we needed to go get somebody else's resources. So combat, battle, fighting, all that stuff started to take place. And so now warlords really came into vogue, right? Because now it's who's going to defend us the best. And that turned into the aristocracy and monarchies and all of those sort of things. But even today, you look at elections, you talked about that, and without going political about who was right, the name of the game for everybody was, who is going to make my life better? Who is going to allow us to survive and thrive? And if you thought one way, you voted for one candidate. If you thought another way, you thought for another candidate. Whatever it might be, that's how we choose our leaders. And so leadership was really honed on the battlefield. If you think about it, you're going, I'm going into a situation where there's a high probability I am not going to survive, right? And a combat leader is to tell somebody, you're going to take that bunker, you're going to take that hill, you're going to charge that pillbox where there's a machine gun firing at 6,000 rounds a minute, and you're watching your buddies getting killed, and yet people do it. So imagine the level of leadership it takes to do that. And so if we can learn lessons where lives are at stake and apply those to business where only livelihoods are, how far can we go? So I'm taking a select group of people. The first one is Battle of Britain. It's spring. I'm waiting on the firm dates, but it's spring of 2026 to England, where we're going to dig into the lessons from the Battle of Britain and the preparation for the D-Day invasion and things around World War II, right? So 6 days in England is going to be an amazing event. I've got, even before the doors open, we're going to have a behind-the-scenes tour of the Churchill war rooms with a historian, not a curator, not a docent who has been trained, a historian, do a deep dive into Churchill. He's a man who he had a vision for himself as a young boy, and then he stepped into that vision. And how many leaders have visions for themselves, but they don't know quite how to step into it, right? So
Yeah.
what he did, and how did he get a fractured people? The Brits were fractured in the late 30s. You know, you had Chamberlain and his say, no, we should capitulate. We should, just make appeasement with Hitler because then he won't attack us, right? And of course, the people said, no, this is evil. We need to fight it to our last breath. And that was Churchill's group. And yet he got all of England to back him in doing that. He was also a master at time management. He didn't get out of bed until 11:30 every day and got more done than two other people.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's just one example of what we're going to do. You want to learn decision-making under pressure? How about doing it in some Firefly fighter trainers at 400 miles an hour as we're doing mock dog fighting against each other in actual planes with instructors? It'll be safe, right? Come out of that, I promise you, there will be no high pressure situations in your life ever again.
Absolutely. And that's the military teaches us. And thank you for your service, by the way, Dave. That's the thing I tell people all the time. I'd hire military people in a second because of what they've been through. Civilians are not going through that. And I don't expect everybody to do that, but let's learn from guys like you. And that's interesting. You call it Command Expedition. Why that name?
Sure. Well, it's first of all, it's an expedition. We're going to be traveling someplace. This is not a typical leadership retreat where you spend 3 or 4 days or even 4 or 5 days, in a secluded place with your team. We're going to travel each time to a different location, different battlefield. The first two I have planned out are the Battle of Britain and then Normandy. We're going to hit the beaches in Normandy. I don't have the date or firm order, but we'll get to Bastogne. We'll get to the Tranang Valley, Vietnam. We'll get to Thermopylae. Go back, you've seen the movie 300, I'm sure. And the Spartans, Waterloo, any place where there's been a battle that I can dig lessons out of, and there's plenty of them. We're going to travel there, different, subsequently in the years. We'll probably repeat after a while, but this is the plan. I love to travel. I love history, and I think there's some great lessons there, and we're going to dig into it. But this is not just going to be this is the great thing. It's not a tour. This is not a lecture. I promise the people who attend, it's going to be experiential. You will be called upon to lead during the evolution at some point, and you are going to be pushed out of your comfort zone. That's my promise. And you will grow and transform. And when you get back, you'll know how to transform your team.
What a great way to relate to your business history. Churchill just using there's so many lessons we can learn and take to our business. This is not just a fun trip. This is you're educating people. Let's grow your business. Let's radical accountability, radical growth. I'm going to use your wording, which I love, by experiencing that. So you get the fun and the business all taken care of, right?
That's exactly right. And it's don't attend because it's going to be a high class event, and it will be a high class event, right? We're not going to skimp on anything on this event. Just to give you an idea, our opening dinner for Battle of Britain is at the Savoy Grill, which was Churchill's favorite restaurant, and our closing meal is going to be at Raffles, War Room. So
you've done a ton of research on this, haven't you?
Yeah, this is a labor of love.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this. And it is an application process, by the way, right? This is not just plunk your money down. In fact, the first thing you're going to have to do is apply, have an interview with me. I want this to be a highly curated group of like-minded individuals who the first time they meet in person, they click and they go like, I just came from a provisors meeting, and looking around the room, we were doing an exercise where it was name a quote that affected your life, and I'm listening to these quotes. I'm going, there's a Stoic, there, because as you know, I'm big into Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius and meditation. I'm like, oh, there's another. Look, well, that's another Stoic lesson there, all around this room. It was my first time meeting these people, and I felt like I was at home. That's the experience. So when you leave here, you've got now a cadre of people that you could pick up the phone who are being completely different business, but you know their mindset. You're going like, hey, listen, I've got this issue here. I got this challenge. I need some insights. And you know it's going to be somebody you respect.
Shout out to Stoics. I don't know if we talked about it last podcast. I love Ryan Holiday and the Daily Stoic. I read every day. Get his shout out the Daily Stoic. Just search it. You guys would be happy you did it. It's changed my life. Sounds like it changed yours, Dave. We're coming to the close to the end here, but another labor of love is your podcast. Talk about your podcast and your mission.
Yeah, actually, my podcast right now is fallow because I'm rebranding it.
Yeah.
The original podcast uh, um, was Disarming Persuasion, and I had a co-host, a good friend of mine, Darren C. So he was a Sandler sales trainer, and went off on his own. That's how I met him. And so we would talk about leadership and sales, which are really two sides of the same coin. And the podcast is still out there. I just no current episodes right now. I am going to rebrand it as a Radical Accountability podcast. So I'll archive the old stuff. So look for that coming up. And I'm going to have great guests like you on. And we're going to talk about lessons in accountability, how to create the culture, what works, what doesn't work. We want to explore the failures because they're not really failures. Is like I'm blanking now. Edison, right? He didn't fail in making a light bulb. He learned how not to do it a thousand ways it doesn't work is what he did, right? And then process elimination. So when life hands us those opportunities to learn, that's all they are. That's all it is. It just means, oh, okay, there's a lesson here for me. And so we're going to explore those. So just stay tuned. Sign up for my newsletter, and you'll promise you'll hear about it.
Put all the information, the Command Expedition and the newsletter, everything in the show notes. And audience, listen to Radical Accountability when it comes out. Stay connected with Dave, because if you just do accountability, you'll have growth. How much, I can't tell you, Dave, but if you just work on accountability, it's a game changer, because I've done that and my life has completely changed. It's huge.
Set your team up for success. Give them the tools they need so they know exactly what they need to do, exactly how much of it you, at a minimum, you want them to do. Give them formal training so they know they can do it. That's so huge, right? Gives them this sense of, okay, you need to create 100 widgets an hour, or whatever that number is, and I did it in training, so I know I can do it, right? Yeah. So you want to set them up for success. By the way, that also what'll happen is you'll find your go-getters, because they're the ones who are going to do 200 widgets an hour. And then you go, how come you're getting 200 widgets? And all of a sudden your systems increment get better and everyone else steps up and can do 200. And that's how you constantly improve. And then make sure they understand how their actions affect others. Huge. Yeah. What's the mindset?
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. And then walk the talk yourself.
Well, thank you for a great show. This has been fantastic. I'm excited for Command Expedition. We'll bring them back next year to talk more about that and what the results were. But how can people connect with you?
Yeah, get to my website, lockedonleadership.com. I know it'll be in the show notes, but LOCKEDON leadership.com. Best way, you scroll to the bottom of any page, sign up for my newsletter. There's a contact me page. Certainly, if you want to schedule an appointment because you have some issue you want to explore, I don't charge for an initial. We're just going to do a briefing. I'll dig into what's going on in your world, and we'll figure out if there's some way we could assist you.
As always, Dave's great. We end with a servant's heart. Look at that. He just brings it full circle. Thank you so much. Audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this link. Podcast and Dave's new podcast, when you listen to it and you hear something or see something that could help somebody, send that thing out. Send that link. It's a gift, because you could change somebody's life with that. I truly believe that's what podcasts are, because I know a lot of my guests have done the same thing. With that being said, me and Dave want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.